Bob, thanks so much for talking to us today. And tell us, what made you pick that July 11th start date more than a month after the other Orlando parks?
Well, we want to make sure that what we present to our guests when we open up is going to be a quintessential Disney experience. And while we'll have substantially lower numbers of guests, we want to make sure we do it in a responsible way so that they can make those lifelong memories that last a lifetime, June.
Now, Bob, when we last spoke was when you were just reopening your Shanghai park. There you started at less than 30% capacity. What kind of capacity are you going to be opening at in Orlando? Are you talking about less than 30%? Can you give us a sense?
We're not going to give any specific number because there's no government guidance necessarily as to how dense we can be. But I will say that our capacity will be a function of the 6-foot social distancing guidance that we have from the CDC. So the number of people we put in the park will be a function of that calculation because we will always strive to maintain that 6-foot social distancing.
I know you're awaiting approval by the governor for this plan, but do you expect to get specific guidance on capacity before you launch and as you start taking reservations and commitments for tickets?
We do not expect to get that. I think that, the Walt Disney Company's got a long history of being very responsible. We were the first attraction-based group in Florida to close initially when COVID first hit. And I think there's a certain amount of trust in the brand and trust in the way that we operate that we'll do it responsibly and do it on behalf of both not only our guests but our cast.
You just outlined a number of different steps that you're going to be taking to make the park safe, which sound very expensive. I mean, we're talking about plexiglass, obviously the limited capacity. At what level of capacity do you expect this park to be profitable?
Well, I had said earlier that we would not open a park unless we could at least cover our variable cost of operating and make a contribution towards fixed costs and overhead. And that is the case at Walt Disney World as well. So we believe that we'll be at least able to cover our costs of opening up our parks, but at the same time work then incrementally as either we become better at putting more folks inside the park or the guidelines loosen up a little bit. So we'll slowly but surely make baby steps towards improving the number of guests that we can accommodate in our parks while again always ensuring that we open up responsibly.
And what kind of consumer demand are you expecting for your Orlando parks? Do you think all of these rules, the mandated masks, the temperature checks, could discourage your biggest fans from coming?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you, we've got a couple data points that are very encouraging. Number one is we still have a tremendous number of reservations that are on our books for the future, and guests have had the ability to cancel now for quite some time. So that plus the response that we've gotten not only in Shanghai, where we opened up a few weeks ago, but also from Disney Springs. Our receptivity has been tremendous. Particularly today, we went and opened up our owned and operated stores and restaurants inside Disney Springs, and the demand has been really, really encouraging. So I think the world is ready to get back to some magic, and Disney certainly can provide that magic.
And I want to ask more about Shanghai, but first, I'm hoping you can give us a little sense of a window into the strength of the American consumer. Between the spending habits you've seen at Disney Springs over the past couple of weeks and the bookings you're seeing for the parks and hotels, how strong is consumer spending going to be over the next couple of months, at least at your properties?
Well, I think that's going to depend on the category. Obviously, certain categories have been strong. I know our consumer products business has been very, very strong during this COVID period. I think it's a little piece of Disney magic that people can have at home with them. So I think it's going to depend on category, and I think it's also going to depend on the brand, because brands that consumers trust, they trust the environment that they're going into. I think that makes a big difference. So I think Disney will be well positioned, at least within the categories that we compete in and operate in, to really exceed guest expectations no matter when they come or however they choose to experience our magic.
Now, we last spoke a couple weeks ago when you were opening Disney Shanghai. Can you give us a sense of how that's going so far? You laid out plans to increase capacity by 5,000 every week. Where are you now, and when will you hit your regular capacity?
Well, right now we're still living within the guidelines of the 3 feet social distancing guidelines that is set up by the Chinese government. And right now we're about 20,000 a day is where we're at in terms of the number of people that we put into the park. So we've still got a lot of room to go. But I must say that part of this is essentially a contract between the Walt Disney Company who operates these parks and also the guest. The guest has to act responsibly as well. And I must say that our guests in China have been spectacular in terms of respecting that social distancing parameter, whether it's 3 feet or 6 feet. And I expect the exact same thing to happen here in Orlando when we open.